Okay, so in my previous video, I talked about what happened in the original timeline. I tried to analyze and explain what originally happened in this timeline before some future Max came back by an uncertain photo. I looked at why this timeline is so different from the dead world and the living world. Also, I theorized about why Safi doesn't seem to use her shapeshifting powers in this timeline, while in the living world, she does so without any hesitation. Now, it's time to move on and talk about today's topic. So, as a Christmas gift, I received from my friend a Life is Strange comic book, specifically Volume 1, and even though I'm not a PriceField shipper, I again have to thank her for introducing me into this amazing comic book series. I totally loved these comics. They are so amazingly written, and after you finish one volume, you really are desperate for more. After I finished the first volume, I ordered all remaining volumes on the next day without any hesitation. I know that these comics are popular among the Life is Strange community, and I really can see why. But while reading them for the first time, I started noticing something interesting already in Volume 1. Even if double exposure is not so popular,
Shit. It's a conspiracy.
it's undeniable that in some ways it's very similar to comics. Maybe it's even inspired by them. I read these comics a few times, and I would like to talk about a few things where double exposure might have taken inspiration from the Life is Strange comic books. It might be possible to even say that actually both games and comic books are kinda canon. Well, the game is obviously canon, but the comic books might be at least a sub-canon, meaning that in the Life is Strange multiverse, both games and comics actually happened, but everything happened in its own timeline. Before we start, I also need to say that I will be talking about similarities between double exposure and the 6 volumes of Life is Strange comic books. I'm not going to be talking so much about the Forget-Me-Not comic book. I only read it once, so I didn't have the opportunity to analyze it so much, but it doesn't seem that double exposure took any inspiration from it at all. If you read this comic book and played the game as well, and if you found any similarity where the game could take any inspiration from it, feel free to write it down into the comments section. And why do I think that the game wasn't inspired by this comic book? Well, when I searched on Google, I found out that the release date of Forget-Me-Not was the 10th of December 2024, which is more than a month after the release date of Double Exposure. It doesn't seem that the game could be inspired by the comic book, or the other way around. Also, I need to warn you that there will be major spoilers, not just from the game, but also from the comic books as well. So, if you haven't read them yet, I recommend you to do so. Maybe someday I will make videos about the story of comic books as well. Now, let's look at the list of things where double exposure might have taken inspiration from the Life is Strange comic books. Number 1. The Multiverse. The first point is going to be the most obvious one. Since the first chapter in both the game and the comic books, we're introduced to the concept of the multiverse. In comics, Max can see into the other world, but she's not able to control these so-called flickers. They are also known as windows. But to travel to the other universe, Max has to use doors. These doors are located in the transect, which can be understood as a dimensional crossroad where Max can see every possibility how the timelines could have gone. She can then enter some of the doors, but there is a restriction which I will talk about later. In the game, Max is able to see into the other world whenever she wants. This is very similar to flickers or windows from the comic books. But as you can see by now, in the game she is fully in control of when she sees into the other world. Also, she can travel between the dead world and the living world whenever she wants as well. This can be compared to the doors, which are located in the transect. But to access the transect, you need something very specific, or a very strong source of power. For comic book Max, that something specific was her selfie, which was taken when she found out that she was accepted to the Blackwell Academy. But she had this selfie only in her original timeline. In Chloe and Rachel's timeline, she had to use a different source of power to access the transect, but we'll talk about this later. Again, in the comics, it can be very difficult to travel between the worlds, but in the game, Max can travel between the worlds anytime she wants. If the transect concept would be considered real in the games as well, could it be possible that the dead world and the living world are so close to each other that Max has enough power to open a door between them without having to access the transect? As far as we know, the dead world and the living world are specific cases. During all previous games, and also the comics, we haven't seen yet any two worlds that were merged. This means that these two worlds are a very rare case, and so it doesn't rule out the possibility that both games and comics exist in the Life is Strange multiverse. And when I mention Chloe and Rachel's timeline, that leads us to number 2, the trio. In the game, we see a trio of best friends, Max, Safi, and Moses. Max and Moses originally weren't that close, but especially after Safi died, they got much closer. Even in the Polaroids from the original timeline, we can see that Max and Moses got much closer there as well. In the comic books, after Max leaves her own timeline, she travels into the world where Chloe and Rachel are together, and they live in LA. After Max lands in this timeline, she meets them on Santa Monica Beach. And for 2 years, we have another trio, Max, Chloe, and Rachel. And why was Max able to travel into this world? Well, let's look at number 3, only one living variant of Max. As we know, after the timeline split in the game, there is only one Max for both the dead and the living world. After Safi's death, Max is for 2 days only in the dead world, and in the living world she is absent. Also, she cannot travel to any other world. In the final volume of the comics, when Max finally finds a way back to her own timeline, she and Chloe both come back to Arcadia Bay to live there together. After some time, Tristan and his boyfriend arrive and enjoy a great time together with Max and Chloe. Max then has a conversation with Tristan. He says that the reason why he was able to travel between both worlds easily is that he was alive only in Chloe and Rachel's timeline, probably referring to Max saving him from drug dealers. But then, the conversation goes like this. But it made me wonder if the reason you were able to go there. Yeah, I worked it out a while ago. A flicker is just a window, a glimpse through a possibility's eyes. To walk through a door, there had to be a space to walk into. This means that for Max to be able to travel into the other world, this other world cannot have a living Max variant. So, if we won't find out in the sequel that the living world Max was in hiding for some reason, this rule might apply even for games. And if you're curious about what happened to Max from Chloe and Rachel's timeline, well, we don't know for sure, we can only guess. I found a theory that because Chloe and Rachel left Arcadia Bay, after Max got accepted to Blackwell, she probably took the path of Rachel from the game, meaning that she ended up in the dark room, and then she was overdosed and killed by Nathan. It is just a theory that might lead to a potential plot hole, but since I heard it and realized that it might be true, trust me, I won't be stopping Warren from beating Nathan anymore.
You like to hurt people, huh? Like Max? Like Kate? Like me? Huh? Feel this, motherfucker!
Who's the bitch now?
Chloe!
I will leave the link for this theory down in description. But when I mention Max's fate from this timeline, I will stop here for just a short time to also mention the Forget-Me-Not comic book, because it makes it a little confusing. In the description of this comic book, it is written that its story takes place in the world where Chloe and Rachel left Arcadia Bay and Max never came back from Seattle. So, if Max never came back from Seattle, maybe something happened to her there? The easiest explanation could be that it is just a similar world, but not the same. As we know, with every decision, a new timeline can be created. Maybe even with the smallest decisions like,
what do you want to eat?
I personally like to call it the Belgian waffle effect. because it is still possible that even this small choice can create a new timeline, and let's be honest, it was one of the hardest choices in the entire first game. Number 4. Two main worlds. In the game, we have two main worlds, the dead world and the living world. In the comics, there are also two main worlds. The first is Max's timeline. This is one of the worlds where Max sacrificed Arcadia Bay. And the other one is already mentioned Chloe and Rachel's timeline. Chloe and Rachel left Arcadia Bay in this world and lived together in LA. The storm in Arcadia Bay probably never happened there. And we talked about Max's tragic fate in the previous point. Number 5. Multiple new people with powers. In Double Exposure, we meet two new people with powers, Safi and Diamond. As we all know, Safi has powers to shapeshift into anyone who she met in real life. What are Diamond's powers is still unknown for us, but there is a theory. If you haven't seen my first video about some of the unanswered questions yet, make sure to go check it out. The link will be down in the video description. So, we have two new people with powers. In the comic books, there are also two new people with powers. The first person whose power we witness is Tristan. Max meets him in Volume 2 when she's in Chloe and Rachel's timeline. He has a power to be invisible, or more specifically, to disengage. For him it seems that he is no longer part of the world, but he can still interact with it. The other person with powers is Pixie. She is a member of the High Seas band. We already meet her for the first time in Volume 1, but we are introduced to her powers at the beginning of Volume 5. For me personally, it was a bit confusing at first, but to put it simply, Pixie can see every possibility how the events could have happened. For example, if she holds a cup of tea in her hand, she can also see the possibility if the cup fell down on the floor and broke. That's why she can also sense Max from the other world if they are in the same location. It seems that she can basically see into other worlds, but as I say, her power is still a bit confusing to me. Let's just also mention Lily from the Forget-Me-Not comic book. Her power is to take away someone's memories. She used it to take away people's painful memories. But the downside of this power is that these memories then affect Lily herself and make her sad and depressed. Number 6. When multiple people with powers are close to each other, their powers are getting out of control. In Double Exposure, when there are more people with powers close to each other, weird things start to happen. Let's look at what weird is happening to Max. The first thing is that Max cannot rewind anymore. She even has problems to travel back in time by photo. But is this true? Well, not entirely. The truth is that she cannot rewind whenever she wants to anymore, but she's still able to rewind spontaneously when she's in danger.
Did I just... Okay, let's try this again.
Also, Max has a few headaches during the game. We know about the moon photo headache, or the one when she's on the bridge, but she also has a headache on the Overlook, after she reveals the snowdrops where Safi's dead body was lying. All this could mean that for some reason, Max's powers are getting out of control. I don't think I need to talk long about how Safi's powers are getting out of control. We saw it on campus, while she was on the Overlook with Yasmin. Her powers created the time vortex. And if our theory is right, past doubles of Reggie and Alderman could be a sign of Diamond's powers going crazy. Well, if that's her power at all. I also cannot forget about the Overlook anomalies. We have 3 people with powers, and suddenly, weird things start to appear in this place. There are so many anomalies that I have a separate video about them. So if you haven't seen it yet, make sure to go check it out. I will put the link down in the video description. In the comic books, Max's rewind power is behaving weird when she combines it with Tristan's power of disengaging. In Volume 3, Tristan manages to open a window into the Max's timeline. They both see Max's Chloe, but they cannot reach her. After Chloe starts to walk away, Max tries to rewind so she would be closer to her. But this starts to hurt Tristan, and not only him. Even Rachel's Chloe has a headache, or at least a very weird feeling. She and Tristan both have nosebleeds. In Volume 2, we also see how Tristan's powers are not working properly when Max is nearby. Max meets him a few times, but always he suddenly disappears. In the next chapter, while Max and Rachel are shopping, Tristan is there as well, with a full shopping cart. After he realizes that Max sees him, he starts to run away. Max then chases him, but she's the only one who can see him. She's yelling at him to stop, but he keeps running away, and people think that she's crazy. He's only visible for the other people when he bumps into a guy. After it seems that Tristan successfully run away, he suddenly appears and confronts Max about how is it possible that she can see him. Not long after that, he leaves, but in the next chapter, he finds Max again and shares his story with her. He then says that for some reason, when Max is nearby, he has to try much harder for his power to work, and sometimes he's not even able to disengage at all when she's nearby. The only person who doesn't seem to have powers going out of control is Pixie, but even that might not be completely true. In Volume 4, we can see a scene in Old Tombstone Western Town, where in clothes shop, on one side of the mirror, there is Chloe from Max's timeline, but on the other side of the mirror, for a short moment, there is Chloe from Chloe and Rachel's timeline. It seems that Pixie's power may have somehow opened a window in this mirror, even if for just a brief moment. Was this caused by Pixie's power getting out of control? But how? Well, again, there were multiple people with powers nearby, and I don't mean Max on one side and Pixie on the other. On Pixie's side, there's also Tristan, just outside of the clothes shop. So, he's pretty close to Pixie, and this could cause Pixie's power to open a window. But this is just a theory, and the true reason could just be that there were two Chloes in front of the same mirror during the same time, and someone with powers with them. Number 7. When multiple people with powers are close to each other, their powers can get stronger. In Double Exposure, we know that Max gets new powers, which allow her to see into the other world, travel to it, and also bring something from the other world to the one where she currently is. And she got this upgrade when she's in the same area where other two people with powers are as well. Of course, I'm talking about Safi and Diamond. About Safi and Diamond's power upgrade, I'm only going to repeat what I already said in the previous point. Safi's power caused a massive tornado, and it is possible that Diamond's power caused dangerous past doubles to appear. A huge powers upgrade if you ask me. In the comics, Max also has a new power upgrade. She calls it Pocket Time. The point of this power is that she can rewind time not just for the whole world, but also only for some items. This power appears when she's trying to train powers with Pixie after finding out that she has powers as well. After Pixie spills cold coffee on her, Max then rewinds so that she never would spill this coffee on her. But something unexpected happens. Nothing else rewinds, only the coffee. And she rewinds it so far that it is hot again. She shows this power to Chloe and Rachel next morning, when they're both hungover after partying, and they're cold after sleeping outside the whole night. Chloe is so shocked that she cannot process right away what just happened, because her cold coffee is suddenly hot. Tristan also gets a power upgrade. After Max tells him that she wants to return to her own world, and that she needs to access the transect to do so, Tristan tries so much that eventually he's able to enter the transect. But it's not the same one through which Max came into the Chloe and Rachel's timeline. Later, with Pixie's help, he learns to fully control this power, and he can travel between these two worlds without any problem by using Chloe as the lighthouse to guide him. As for Pixie, we don't see an upgrade for her powers, but at the end of Volume 5, both her and Tristan acknowledge that they feel a strong power in the forming storm, and she's also much better in controlling her power now. And when I'm talking about the storm, let's move to number 8, Tornado. Again. Yeah, so in Double Exposure, when people saw the time vortex, some of them were angry that after the first game, the idea of another tornado is so unoriginal. But Either they didn't realize that this wasn't the first time where a tornado appeared again, or they simply refused to see it. In comic books, in Volume 6, there is a new storm and a new tornado. With the help of pixies on both sides, and Tristan and Chloe and Rachel's timeline, Max is able to use her pocket time to rewind only specific elements of both tornadoes to make them disappear. By that, she gains enough power to access the transect with Tristan. But this time, thanks to this extra power boost from both storms, they both access the transect by which Max originally traveled into Chloe and Rachel's timeline. From there, she is finally able to return to her own timeline, and she is reunited with her Chloe. In Double Exposure, Max is also able to make the time vortex disappear by fixing Safi. So, I think that again, this was inspired by the comics as well. Number 9. Snowball fight scene. In Double Exposure, at the end of Chapter 1, when Max can see into the living world for the first time, we can see a snowball fight between Diamond and Reggie. The similar scene is also shown in the Polaroid, which was probably taken in the original timeline. In comics, we can see a snowball fight scene as well, this time with Max and Chloe, and it takes place in their dream. In this scene, Max shows Chloe her pocket time power upgrade for the first time by rewinding Chloe's snowball back to her face, which amazes Chloe. After Max wipes the snow from Chloe's face, they share a romantic kiss, and they both wake up. Number 10. All people with powers are sooner or later geographically close to Max. Okay, so in both games and comic books, if we pay enough attention, we can see that every person with powers, at least those who we know about, sooner or later comes at least geographically close to Max, or her home. For this point, we have to look at every person with powers throughout the whole franchise. Let's start with the games. Of course, the first one is Max, and before the storm, there's nobody with powers. In Life is Strange 2, Sean and Daniel both live in Seattle, and as we know, in the bonus episode of Before the Storm, Max and her parents moved to Seattle. So, there we have our first connection. In True Colors, we play as Alex, and during the game, we find out that she spent some time in an orphanage in Portland, which is in the state of Oregon. Do you know which another town is in Oregon? Yep, you're right, Arcadia Bay. Alex was at some point of time close to Max's hometown, maybe even during the events of Life is Strange 1, but I'm not sure about this. Okay, so Alex is connected, and in Double Exposure, both Safi and Diamond meet Max in person. In comics, Max personally meets both Tristan and Pixie. In Volume 2, she meets Tristan 2 years after arriving in Chloe and Rachel's timeline. Later we find out that Tristan's powers showed up for the first time on the day when Max arrived into this world. It could be just a coincidence, but maybe it has a deeper meaning. And when I mentioned Pixie, Max met both variants of her. She has known Pixie in her and Chloe's world for some time, while living for a year in Seattle after Arcadia Bay was destroyed by the storm. And when she travels into Chloe and Rachel's timeline, the High Seas band, with Pixie as well, is introduced to Max, Chloe, and Rachel in Volume 2. I tried to connect Lily from the Forget-Me-Not comic book, but I still wasn't able to figure out any direct connection between her and Max. There is, however, an indirect one. Lily meets Steph, whose hometown is Arcadia Bay, and it is quite possible that during those years, before Max moved to Seattle, they met. Also, if this comic book actually takes place in Chloe and Rachel's timeline, then Steph met Max in person while organizing the Art of the Sea festival in Volumes 5 and 6. Number 11. Chloe and Victoria got closer. In Double Exposure, if we choose that Chloe is alive, we can see on social networks that Chloe and Victoria are actually a lot closer than in the first game, sometimes commenting each other's posts. If you choose that Chloe died, then in one of Victoria's posts, she hints that she would like to take a photo of her, but she can't because Chloe is dead. If you're guessing that this was not the first case when Chloe and Victoria got closer, you're right once again. In the comic books, in Max and Chloe's timeline, while traveling with the High Seas band, Chloe meets Victoria, while Victoria together with other actors are traveling to the Art of the Sea festival as well. They meet in a clothes shop in Old Tombstone, Western Town. They go for a coffee together and have a conversation where Victoria reveals that she was still not able to get over what happened in Arcadia Bay. After this conversation, they enjoy a water gun fight together with the High Seas band. Later they meet again and Victoria asks Chloe for a favor. She's taking over her parents' gallery and wants to offer Max a space there for Arcadia Bay photos for people to see them. Chloe promises to ask Max when she comes home, and after she does, Max agrees. So, we can see that Chloe and Victoria got a lot closer in this timeline as well. Bonus: the world where Chloe is alive and Arcadia Bay wasn't destroyed. In Volume 1, when Max and Chloe enter the destroyed Two Whales diner, both Max and Chloe witness a flicker into the world where Chloe is alive and Arcadia Bay wasn't destroyed. They meet Dana there with her baby, and also Chloe can hear Joyce's voice calling for her. That means that it's a world where Chloe never died and Arcadia Bay survived. The storm might have never appeared here. We heard some leaked info. The double exposure story was originally heading into the point where we would not only merge the dead and the living world, but also sacrifice Chloe and sacrifice Arcadia Bay timelines as well. If the sequel is still in the plans, could we be still heading there? Would it be the same world which Max and Chloe saw while in the diner? We saw a lot of cases when double exposure could have taken inspiration from Life is Strange comic books. Some of them seem more obvious, and some of them may be just a coincidence. I know that many fans love these comic books. I also hope that maybe someday we will get more stories in this form. Maybe this story is already finished, and there is not so much to explore anymore, but I believe that in the multiverse of endless possibilities, it might be awesome to explore some of the other timelines as well. What are your opinions about these inspirations? Do you agree, or do you think something else? Let me know down in the comments. I look forward to all of your opinions. If you liked this video, I would be really grateful if you could press that like button. Also, if you missed my previous video about the original timeline in double exposure, you can go check it out. Also, if you missed my first video where I tried to explain some unanswered questions, why not give it a chance as well? Thanks again for watching and have a nice day.